Hey, good morning, YouTube. Rex, the shop dog, and I are out here doing some work. He's primed and ready to go. Yep, and he's looking exactly at our next project. Our next project is improving some dust collection over here on the table saw. So I have my overarm blade guard. What is it? Oh, it's an Excalibur. There we go. It's hooked up to my dust collection system. So there's a 6-inch port going to the main line. I got two 4-inch ports, one supplying this and one into the cabinet. It ain't fancy, but it works. But one thing I do notice, and I'm sure everybody's noticed this type of thing, and don't worry, the saw's off. I'm not gonna cut my hand off or anything like that. So when you're cutting, I know sometimes I screw up and things are a shade too wide. I always cut them a bit wide because, hey, with wood, you can't put my stuff back on. Rex, off. Don't. He's trying to eat some ducting components because he's bored just like the rest of us. So I'll cut it a little bit big and then I just got to shave a little bit off. But as that blade is spinning, it's throwing dust this way and it's throwing dust that way, and the whole side of my saw and my pants and everything just get covered in sawdust. And even though I have the overarm blade guard, it's still some ekes out. And I know this thing was developed in the 90s or 2000s. I've had it for years. And so I want to do it better. So I found on Amazon some, what do you call it, bristle stuff. It has like a I don't know, canvas sort of backing. Looks like some of it's been glued, some of it hasn't. And I'm wondering if I set up something like this, that's removable, because again, you don't want it all the time, but on those rare occasions when you're going to be needing a little bit of extra coverage there, maybe I could make something up. I found, oh man, don't move guys, don't ever move with a shop because it's just awful. I found some of these rare earth magnets finally. They were in a cabinet, metal cabinet, and I think I'm going to try and come up with an idea using these to clip on this, but securely, and not cutting my fingers off. So let me nose around the shop, see what I got, and let's come up with something. All right, so I thought of a couple different ways. I started setting up to do a rabbit, and I thought, it's just too much pain in the butt. I hate pulling the blades out and that type of thing, and how do I do a rabbit this high, that deep? So I thought, well, I'm just gonna do a groove and a piece of plywood. So I went with just a single saw blade. Thought, hey, that'll be close. It is close, but it just doesn't want to go in. And I know it's gonna not be good. So I'm gonna put a second, I'll just move it over a tiny bit, maybe a, I don't know, like a 2 or 3 millimeters, or a couple 30 seconds of an inch, or whatever the heck that equates to. Let's see how that fits after that. All right now, so I got it, I think I moved it over 2 30 seconds of an inch or so. And oh, it fits beautifully now. I'll be able to squeeze it in quite nicely. And it takes it almost right to the full depth. So once I get it all figured out, it'll go in there without, it'll be a little bit of a pressure fit. Now, how am I going to hold this in there? As with most stuff I do, I don't want it permanently affixed because I know something screw up, or I want to replace it or change it or do something that way. So I've got some 1/2-inch pin nails, and I think I'm just going to pin nail it through the thin face into the thick face in a few spots. And I think that should hold pretty good. Next thing is going to be affixing it to the side of my overarm blade guard. So when I just slam it up against it, it's not totally flat because there is a screw there, one at the back. So I'll have to make a little relief in it for that. And again, I still want to be able to use the magnets for easy on and off. The other thing is I'm going to probably create for the front something where I'm going to use some of the similar idea. We're going to hang this off of there, so I can just hang it off this wire. that'll slip on and off. It'll give it a bit of a incline into the blade, so that as stuff is pushed through, it's going to want to go underneath and deflect those a little bit better. So let's get the side done, then I'll know how much width I need on this one. I still don't want to fully seal the front because I want some air coming from the front area. I just want to stop it from blowing along the table and maybe giving a little bit of extra suction from here, from the back end. And this side I don't want to mess with. I don't want to do anything on this side. It's never the issue. And as you can see, this blade guard is saved a finger. Because as I was pushing something through, actually I wasn't using my hand, but maybe it saved a push stick or whatever, but it flexed a little bit and it twisted and it caught it. So again, use your blade guards, use a protective equipment. It does work, it serves its purpose. Anyways, let's work on this next part. All right, I got everything lined up, I think the way I want it to. I just got to cut some angles here for the front relief, the back, and I just marked where those screws would be. So I'm going to hit that with a little Forstner bit. I'll probably do a horrible thing and use it freehand in a drill, but no sense setting up the drill press for 2 little holes. Maybe I will. I don't know. I'll figure it out. The other thing is on the groove, I had to widen it out. Some of the areas on this thing where they have glue were really thick, so I hit it with a couple more passes. If you're ever on the fence, pun intended, about getting a new shop fence for your saw, look at this Incra stuff. I don't know, it's a bit pricey. I live in Canada, which means it's about 300% more expensive than other things, but certainly it is nice. And the wicked thing is, and you've probably seen this on YouTube videos or whatever, is that you know exactly where your meter was. You can lock it in, and you see it's right on the 11 and whatever is there. Release it, move it forward a little bit, locks it into the next one. So I found this really useful in a number of things. The other thing, it has a quick dial over here where you can actually, when it's released, I think this is, I don't know what numbers these are, thousandths or something. Again, I'm a metric kind of guy. I'm in Canada, so at the time they didn't have the metric. I could get a conversion kit now for this thing, but all of our lumber is dimensional anyways, so whatever. I deal with it as I can. But I like this little guy. So I'm gonna shave that piece down and let's get it ready. Do you ever just have that urge to have more tools, and then you go out and buy a tool and you go, why the heck did I just buy this thing? Oh. Anyways, you know, this is a really large horizontal belt sander used for truing up edges on stuff. And then you think, should I have gotten a bigger one? Of course you should have gotten a bigger one. This one only does about 6 inches. As a previous video, I replaced the plating on the back, or at least the graphite component to it. Let's have a look. Oh, it's beautiful. Okay. And then I was thinking, well, I needed to make this edge just a little bit better because it was a bit off, and you know, we always wonder, well, how can we make this a little smoother? Oh, beautiful stuff. A little bit of a thing there as a support, keep it from getting sucked into the internals. And as I was doing this, I was noticing some dust coming out of this end. Well, guess what the next project's going to be? Using that same stuff to maybe make a little bit of a flapper thing here. Not to stop all airflow, but just to kind of, you know, restrict it a little bit, and if anything comes by, it'll be knocked down and hopefully improve dust collection on there. You know, what the heck, 2-for-1 project today. Let's go over what I've done so far. So the knot was not in the right spot, which means I didn't choose the right piece of wood. So I did Forstner out a little spot for one of the screws. I put a little holder in here for the magnet. This allows me just to drop it in. I can pop it out if I need to. These aren't the strongest ones. It's not the ones I really wanted to use, but I only had one holder in the bigger size, and I didn't feel like driving out paying $10 in gas to go pick up a $1 holder. And this will suffice for now. There was one screw that I missed originally, so I had to cut a little relief out for that one. I put another holder here, and that's a relief for the other screw. So let's check this out. There we go. That fits pretty good. Nice and solid, clips on. The thing is, with the release for the screws, it keeps it from bumping off. Again, there's not going to be a lot of pressure on this side, mainly because it's all going to be just to hold something there. So this is going to be used for when I'm when I'm just ripping off a little piece. So it's going to slide in like this, and I'm just taking off less than a hair. So this will just keep it all from blowing out the side there and getting all over the shop, and it'll keep the bristles down here. In hindsight, I probably should have aim for them to be closer to my relief holes. You know, I might even put another hole in this zero clearance throat plate. I don't know, we'll see. Just to improve a little bit of dust collection at the front there. It's getting there, it's getting there. Okay, I do want to put another one up here though. I'm a little neurotic. I just want to make sure it doesn't somehow vibrate off or pop off. So it takes a bit of force to pop it off right now. It can always be better. Now, here is exactly the situation I'm looking at and why I'm doing this whole thing. I got the side one completed, and so now I want to take this piece of wood, just as I need it for part of the next step. It's good on 3 sides, but it's got one bad side, and I just want to slip it through this table saw and just take off a hair and keep all the dust from flying around. So let's see how much this prevents the dust from flopping out to the side. Hey Rex, how you doing? So let's see what happens there. As you saw, there's no dust over here. I love that part. That's beautiful. All the dust kind of was hitting my hand and is in this area here, but even that has improved the dust collection. I think I'm on the right track on this thing. So let me finish up the rest of it. And that little piece was pretty easy to slide through. I had a block, I had my riving knife, splitter, whatever you call it, on the back end there. So don't worry guys, I wasn't in a position for kickback or that type of thing. But this, so far, has worked. Now I thought of a different couple ways of doing this. I made another block with a rabbet in it to take the brush blank, basically. I thought I was just gonna hook it on here like this and give a little bit of space, but that's, you know what? That's gonna create a wonderful ramp for stuff to come flying up onto there right into my face, I bet. So my thought now is, well, I could just do it like this, so it kind of sits on there. And what I will do, I made a mark already, but I think I'll make a new mark because I'll just sit that in there. Oh, there it is. There's the mark. I'm going to make a little lip that sits over here, and through this part, maybe I'll put another piece here that'll just keep it from moving side to side, and it'll just use gravity to hold that down on there. So I gotta line some stuff up here, glue it up. We'll see how that works. Again, I can still use little pin nails to hold this in here so it doesn't move. Seems to have a nice junction over here too. I don't know, little by little I'm getting it going. Again, this stuff is going to come on and off very easily when I'm just using the table saw for normal stuff, but for a little function like this, I think it'll work good. Not so pro tip, but I got weak hands, I guess. I hate these containers. Man, the glue gets in there, it dries, and it's hard to get going. I can't. Trying to grab onto this little plastic thing and pull it up, it's not comfortable. They got to make like a bigger end to it that maybe has a swell in it that's easier for thumbs to get underneath. Or maybe I need smaller fingers or whatever. What I do is I have a piece of leather, I wrap around that, gives it a little bit better grip, cushions it a little bit, digs in, and allows me to pull it out easier. So if you're having trouble opening your stupid glue bottles, a little chunk of leather or something like that works great. All right, so it's been up gluing overnight, and I had some other stuff. Went around with Shop Dog Rex and getting him out for a little, well, I think his 50th walk yesterday. He's at the point where he doesn't even want to go for a walk when I bring the leash out. Weird for a border collie. Anyways, so I came up with this little guy. Comes out pretty good. It ain't pretty. Just some scraps of whatever I had lying around, done up on the bandsaw and everything else like that. After I cut that piece of oak on the table saw, I just realized a better way of doing that would have been on the bandsaw. I keep forgetting I have it. It's sitting right there. Why don't I use the darn thing? I don't know. You ever forget you have tools? It happens to me all the time. Anyways, so good to go. I'm gonna hit this. I'm gonna leave a little bit of a, I guess a handle or something on it so it's gonna work properly. I can put it either way. I like it this way because then it's sort of up out of the way. I'm gonna probably sand this down a little bit, put a little radius on it. Yeah, I like that. Works good. So I have the piece of brush now just sitting. I put a little CA glue on it to make sure that when I cut it, the bristles don't all start falling out and it unravels. But this sits pretty solid. So let me work on that, and I'll get back to you once I kind of clean this up and make it look a little bit more pretty. All right, well, it's not pretty, but it works. And a lot of my shop fixtures I ever make are all out of scrap or things I have hanging around because I'm not gonna waste any wood, especially these days with everything being so expensive and being able to work is on a premium. So I might have some old pocket holes and, you know, some of the bits and pieces, but doesn't ruin the structural integrity, and I don't care what it looks good or if it looks bad or whatever. As long as it works and it's solid, I'm happy. So anyways, instead of pin nails, I decided to go with pen head screws. That way I can easily pop them out, change this out, adjust the height, whatever I want to do. It's all good that way. The little part here turned out pretty good. I gotta adjust that sander. The table doesn't seem to be very square to the platen and the belt, so I gotta work on that. Maybe in a project for the weekend, maybe. So it's easy. It just slides on and off, pretty simple. Flops in. Again, I use the same little pen head screws on that part. If I do it properly, there we go. Again, it just clips in with a little bit of mechanical stuff. It won't pull out, it won't pull forward, it doesn't. These are set in there, nice and solid, so nothing's gonna fall out or go into the blade. And again, it gives me that open edge here, so when I'm cutting a piece, it should work good. And again, this whole thing slides over, so I can put it wherever I want it to go. And apparently if you hit it with the saw, it'll pop off. So I gotta adjust that a little bit, but it's all good. So I'm gonna put this down, get something set up, and do the exact cut I'm talking about this being a solution for. Give me a minute. Okay, so here's the exact situation I'm doing all this silly work for. I have a piece of plywood that has a groove on it. It's tongue and groove. It was from a project I had, but I actually need just that tongue cut off. So I've set the saw up to make sure that I can just cut the tongue off, but remember, when the blade starts going through the tongue area, it's gonna spew all this dust and crap out this way, which it's going to be a real pain in the arse, and it's going to be really tough to keep everything together. So I'm going to set up the dust collection system, open up blast gates for the table saw, and then run this, and let's see how it works. I even cleaned the entire table saw just to give a better idea. Okay, here we go. Okay, not perfect. I could probably adjust those brushes on the front one a little bit. But there was a lot less stuff on the floor for the shop dog Rex to try and snoofle up and eat. And I just shaved a little bit off that tongue, just as like the worst case scenario. So I'm really happy. This is a lot better. I'll refine it as I go along. I really think I probably just need to drop these down just a touch, which means I just have to loosen up those screws and let it come down a little bit. But otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, a success. So I hope this gives you some inspiration to improve dust collection in your shop and your table saw. But I like it. It was a good project to sort of take up a little bit of time and get my mind off a bunch of other crap. Otherwise, everybody be safe. Follow the advice of everybody out there in the government and healthcare. I'm a healthcare worker. I do this on the side because I love working with wood. Listen to them, follow them, be smart, don't be silly, keep everybody else safe. This will all get better. We're gonna be fine. It's a big blip on our radar and it's not a lot of fun, but we can handle it. We're strong. Have a great evening, guys.